Alright, so this is going to be day 12 of Workshop Wasteland Tricks or Treats. And in this video, I'm going to talk a little bit about laying out your parts. So for the engine that I'm building, I had to make these governor weight arms. And it's not an overly complex piece, but once you get this into the mill and you lose half of it because of the way you have it clamped in the vise, in my opinion, it's really easy to lose track of what you have going on here. There's an awful lot of dimensions in a small piece that's only 3/16 wide, 1 inch long, and 3/8 of an inch high. So what I started doing, and it saved me a ton of time, is I scribe lines on everything that I make. And I'm not saying that I cut to these lines, but what I do is use these as a reference or like a witness mark. So I know once this is clamped in the vise and it's covered up like that, I can still see what I need to end up with at the end. And it has saved me a tremendous amount of material because I don't make nearly as many mistakes. I'm not saying I don't make any mistakes, I just don't make nearly as many. So I'm sure to an everyday machinist, to whip something like this out is, a 10-minute part. There's nothing to it, but I'm not an everyday machinist. I'm just a guy having fun in his workshop. And like I said, starting the lathe stuff out has saved me a ton of time, a tremendous amount of time. So I'm going to show you a couple of the tools that I use for laying these things out. First and foremost, this is a surface plate. It's not anything super critically flat. It's, I think, from Grizzly or some kind of knife making place, if I remember correctly. It's flat enough for anything that I'm doing. This is a height gauge. I believe this is a 12-inch height gauge. And this is awesome. I use this thing on every single project that I do. You could probably get away with a 6-inch. And I do kind of wish it was digital, so that if I'm, up off this surface plate and I want to have that as my 0 point, then I could just hit 0 on the scale and, move up or down from there. So I do kind of wish it was digital. I don't mind having a gauge. It just means you have to do math. And math can get confusing sometimes, but overall, it's usually pretty simple math. So that is a height gauge, which has a carbide scribe in it. You can see this is carbide, so it works really well to draw nice lines on your parts. Of course, trusty pair of calipers. Basically have to have these. I know you're not supposed to scribe with them. As you can see, this is a Cabela's brand pair. They're accurate enough for what I'm doing, and I kind of use these as my beater pair, so I scribe with them all the time, and they still seem to be doing just fine. I do have several pair of Mitutoyo and Starrett, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's just a set of dial calipers. You ought to have a couple of different compasses, as I call them. I don't know what the exact name is, but you can open this up and then use these to scribe a circle or a radius or a diameter. Square's not a bad idea. A precision square is probably the way to go. Make yourself a little scribe right here. This is a needle. You buy like a 5-pack of them for a couple bucks on Amazon. This is just a piece of brass tubing, or I'm sorry, brass hex stock. And I made it out of hex so that when I throw it down, it doesn't roll away. A center punch is always good to have. Again, a good center punch. Don't get some cheapo from Harbor Freight. And you're going to need some kind of angle blocks to sit on your plate. That is really overkill. I wish I had something smaller. I have some smaller, like 1, 2, 3 blocks and stuff, but this works well. It's heavy enough so I can kind of push against it and it doesn't want to slide. I'm sure it's probably not doing any justice to this surface plate, but again, this was pretty cheap. It's reasonably accurate, and it's good enough for anything that I'm doing. Don't mind the mess, but you could get away with a nice piece of granite countertop, like a sink cutout or something like that. Use that to scribe off of. You don't necessarily have to buy a surface plate. Once again, we're not making NASA level parts here. We're making an engine or other machinist projects in a workshop. Most likely not even to sell, just to use and have fun with on your own. Of course, to scribe those parts, you're using this layout fluid. This is Dykem brand. I think there's others. I've seen people use shellac and make their own. This stuff's really pretty inexpensive. It works pretty well. I have red and blue. I think red shows up better on steel. Blue shows up better on aluminum. These giant Sharpies work well. They just wipe off pretty easily, but they are good for if you scribe the line in the wrong place, you can kind of touch it up. And I bought these markers off of Amazon. This is it's called a pump marker 611EM Echo Mike. And I put the layout fluid in these. They work better in my opinion because the brush that's in Dykem absolutely sucks. And this is like a felt tip marker. And then, you just mark across your part, makes nice straight lines if you need to. I think these are really worth it. They seal up really well. It doesn't seem like anything evaporates out of them. And I've used them a lot and they're still holding on. I think a 5-pack of them was, I don't know, 15 or 20 bucks on Amazon. Probably worth buying some of those too. They're refillable and they come empty. These are some China special, they call them long nib markers. As you can see, they got a real long point on them. I like them for drawing things. They work really well. And they're also pretty inexpensive on Amazon. Long nib markers. So yeah, I know to an everyday machinist, laying out parts probably isn't necessary. If anything, it might even be a waste of time to a lot of people. But it works really well for me. I've not scrapped a lot of parts and pieces that I would have otherwise probably ruined. And at the end of the day, materials are not very cheap. And I'd rather spend a little bit of time and lay out some parts and then not have to throw them into the trash can or turn them into something smaller because I didn't take the time to just scribe out what I was making. Whenever you're making really intricate small pieces, it comes in handy. And it's also good for larger stuff too. Kind of a bit of a sanity check just to make sure you're not going to make a giant mistake and mess up what you were doing. So, hope you enjoyed this video. A little bit of a treat here. You'll probably find you need all kinds of different stuff for scribing and marking and all of that, but you don't have to buy it all at once. You can get by with a height gauge and do most of anything that you're doing to start out with. So hopefully you enjoyed. Don't forget to subscribe. We'll see you in the next video.